Hey guys, I wanted to create a video of me going over what I normally do after raids when I go to look at logs, specifically hunter logs, and how I go about doing that on the Warcraft logs website. And my goal is to give people kind of a resource, at least hunters specifically, but kind of anyone, on ways that you can go and look at logs and look for ways that you can potentially improve your performance. Because I think one of the things about Warcraft logs is that it gets this stigma that it's about, it's geared towards people that care about parsing, that care about speedruns, but in reality, it is a great resource for anyone that's wanting to analyze what happened in a raid, their performance in a raid, and then to look for ways that they can improve. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull up my last BWL and my last Molten Core parses, and I'm going to use the two of them and kind of go through them and show you what I do as a hunter when I'm looking at these and the different layers of Warcraft logs that I go through to analyze basically why I ended up with the DPS that I did, ways that I could have improved, areas where I got lucky, areas where I got unlucky. I'm just kind of jump right in with this. I did want to hit on a couple things. One is that when you're looking at logs, a lot of people they'll come here and they'll look at damage, and that's sort of where they'll stop looking at logs. And for some classes, that's fine. Like if you're the top DPS warrior, you might come and look at this and just go, all right, yeah, I did well. We're good. But I think for a lot of players, you can get way more if you are willing to take the time to look into these. So I encourage you to do that. I'm gonna start with BWL here. Myself and the other two hunters in my guild are all pretty high parsing hunters. So usually when I do this, I just analyze myself against if you're the top person in your role in your guild, you can honestly go through and look at other top parsers in the world or on your server and get the same information. First thing that I'll look at here is just sort of totals. For the total raid, you can look at how your activity. So this is specifically bosses. This active percentage column, it tells you how active you were during boss fights. So from the time that your raid entered combat to the time you ended combat, how active were you during that time? And there's some, the site doesn't do like a perfect job of displaying this because I know for a fact that for hunters, if you enter combat and start casting an aim shot, it doesn't count you as in combat until that aim shot connects. So that's a reason. So that's just something to think about. First thing that jumps out here for me, I'm Duranosaur, is that I am less active than my counterparts, Zidane and Jeff. And you can also hover over this and see DPS while active. So like Jeff's DPS while active is 633, but his total was 591. So it's that 93% being active. If he was 100% active, he would have had 633 DPS. Zidane and I actually would have beat Zidane if I had just been more active. So that's, and we'll get farther into this as we go. So let's just jump into the first boss fight here. So Razorgore, the Untamed. When I get on this page, one of the first things I'll do is I'll mouse over my damage bar and I'll look at, okay, how active was I, how active was my pet, which you can see in the box that comes up here on the right side. So I was 88% active, my pet was 72% active, which means that I probably didn't send my pet in fast enough. If you look at Jeff, Jeff was a little bit less active as a player, but his pet was more active. Zidane was the most active at 92 and 91. So even just looking at this right off the bat, my guess is that I either had a better rotation or got luckier than Zidane on this fight. So then I'll open up individual players. And this will break down what I did on the fight. So first thing that I notice here is the cooldowns that I popped. So I popped Berserking as a troll, Devil Sarai, and Rapid Fire on this fight. Thinking back on this fight, I know that I popped these too early. This fight took 19 seconds. So in my mind, that meant that I needed to pop Devil Sarai before the fight started and I probably didn't need to pop rapid fire or berserking before the fight started, but I did, and that was probably a mistake. So that's something that I can tell from the fight time. So I popped all my cooldowns here. Casts are a huge thing, especially for hunters. You want to look at your total auto shot casts, your aim shot casts, your multi shot casts. The best way that you are going to improve is to make sure that you are getting the highest number of casts you were able to possibly get based on a fight time. So first thing I'll do is look at mine, 833, and then I'll go and look at Jeff. Jeff had 622, and then I'll look at Zidane. Zidane had 722. So in my mind, it makes sense that I got more off because I popped more cooldowns. So if I had the same number of auto shots and like also 2 aim shots, then I would have done something completely wrong. The fact that I had rapid fire and berserking up means that, yeah, I should have gotten more auto shots and more aim shots off. So that kind of lines up. Obviously, Zidane did something. So Zidane did not pop CDs. He did get a quick shots though. And Jeff didn't pop CDs, didn't get quick shots. So that's an easy thing. Okay, he got one more auto shot off probably because he had quick shots proc. So that's an easy thing to just sort of look at. I also had a quick shots proc. Another thing to look at is crit percentage here. So my auto shots crit 37.5% of the time. No crits on my 3 aim shots, which is a huge bummer. And then one of my 2 multi-shots crit. So that's when looking at just this total damage here. I only had a 708 DPS, which is like you'll see for eye level that's a 97. For overall parses that's a 98. That's probably largely due to the fact that I had 3 aim shots go off and not a single one of them crit, which is pretty unfortunate. You look at Jeff. Jeff had 33% of his autos, so 2 of his 6. He had 1 of his aim shots and 1 of his multi-shots. Jeff had 642 DPS, 91% active. I had 708 DPS, 88% active. And a lot of that activity, because I think I opened with an aim shot. So if you look at, yeah, I opened with an aim shot. So it's not counting the startup time for aim shot. And Razor Gore is one of those fights where you can't even start the aim shot until you're already in combat with him. So our activity levels are going to be lower. I assume Jeff opened with an auto shot. That's why his activity was higher. And Zidane also opened with an auto shot. So I think an argument could be made that I should have opened with an auto shot, especially since I popped my CDs. But I wanted to get as many aim shots out with rapid fire up as possible because I knew that was going to be my chance. And I did get 1 more aim shot off than the 2 of them. It's just that I didn't have any crits. The next big thing that I look at is pet damage. So I'm a troll. Both of these guys are orcs. So I expect my pet to do less damage. My pet did 1.2k. My pet actually did more than Jeff's. Which did 1.1, and it did less than Zidane's, which did 1.6. So overall, I mean, the reason that I ended up doing better on this fight was because I popped my CDs, and I probably was pretty active with my pet. That's my big takeaway with this. I know that I popped my CDs too early, and I maybe wanted to open with an auto shot, is my big takeaways. So we'll move on to the next one. Vaelastrasz. So again, you look at Vaelastrasz. You look at active as a player, I was 84.5. My pet was 93. Jeff as a player was 89. His pet was 86. Zidane was 92. So already, again, Zidane doing better on activity, but doing less overall damage. So we'll get into that. Open up these 3 again. I popped all my CDs on Razor Gore, so I didn't have any. I did have a quick shots proc. Jeff popped his Devil Sore, Eye, and Rapid Fire on this fight. and Zidane popped his rapid fire on this fight. So then when you look at casts, I had 9 auto shots, 3 aimed, 3 multis. Jeff had 12 auto shots, 3 aimed, 3 multis, and Zidane had 13, 3 and 3. I do know one of the reasons that I had less multis or less autos was because I got burning adrenaline. So probably, I think it was right in this range between the 21 and 24 second marks is probably around where I got it. So I think I started moving, stopped, cast my aim shot, and then so that delayed my auto shot, even though I did get an auto shot off right at the end. It looks like I didn't open with an auto shot, and it might be that he opened with an auto. Yeah, I mean, they both opened with an auto. It's another instance where it might have been better for me. Well, it would have been better for me to open with an auto, because both of them got aim shots off at the end. Argument could be made that I should have opened with an auto. If you dive into this a bit more, this is still my page. 44.4% crit on autos. I crit one of my 3 aimed. I crit one of my 3 multis. You look at Jeff, he had 50% on his auto. He crit all 3 of his multi shots. And he crit a third of his aim shots. And then Zidane, 23.1% crit auto, one of his 3 aimed, one of his 3 multis. Ultimately, what this comes down to, 13.1k auto shot damage. So somehow my auto shot crits were just doing my auto shots in general, the average hit. So when you average out the crit damage and the regular shot damage was just doing more than Jeff's on this fight. And then you look at pet damage, my pet did 2.7. Jeff's did 2.3, Zidane's did 3.4. Overall, it seems like this fight came down to crits for the most part. Zidane and I had the same crit percentage on our aims and our multis. I just had a higher crit percentage on my auto shots, and they were hitting for a lot more. Jeff had a higher percentage on his auto shots, but they weren't hitting on average for as much. Same with his multis. His multis were hitting for 2.1k. Mine were hitting for 1.8k. You can also go in here and look at, so if you see that I got a quick shots proc, if you go to buffs in here, it'll tell you where this procced and the uptime of it. So did either of them have, neither of them had quick shots proc. Mine procced, but it procced at the very, very end of the fight. So it probably didn't play a very big role in this. Versus you look at their buffs, this is the duration of his rapid fire. It was up for almost 50% of the fight. His Devil Sore Eye was up for 66% of the fight. My quick shots was up for 4.8% of the fight. So that kind of gives you an idea of, if you click on these buffs, it'll tell you what buffs you had and for how long, and even kind of its position on this line right here shows you where it was during the fight. So that's Vael. Broodlord, I got beat pretty bad by Zidane. We can look at activity here. So Zidane was 90% active. I was 87. Jeff was 87. When you look at DPS while active, 741, he was 886. So his DPS while active was better than ours out the gate. So as a character, he was 90%. His pet was 73.8. As a character, I was only 78%, and my pet was 87.5. Jeff was 81%, pet 86. So right off the bat, like, I wasn't active enough, which means that on the poll, I probably didn't auto shot as we were running in, and I bet both of them did. So Zidane right here, yep, he auto shot. He also popped rapid fire in this fight. He had 14 autos, 4 aims, 3 multis. This is me. I did pop auto shot as I was going in. Also 14 autos, 4 aims, 3 multis. This is Jeff, 12-3-3. He had rapid fire, Devil Sora. I had rapid fire, berserking, Devil Sora Eye, quick shots. The works on this one. Zidane's crit percentage here, 42 on his autos. He crit 1 of his 4 aim shots, and he crit 2 of his 3 multi shots. My auto shots crit 21% of the time. I crit 1 of the 3 aim shots that landed. So this is an interesting thing. It tells you that I cast 4 aim shots, but only 3 of them hit. It's not that I missed one, it's that I casted one here at the end, and Broodlord died before it made contact. So when you look at Zidane's, all 4 of his aim shots connected. Even though only 1 of them crit, he got the damage from that 4th one going off. I did not. So that's an unfortunate thing. When you look at, I had 0 crits on my multi-shot, and then when we look at Jeff's page, 25%, a third of his aimed, 2/3 of his multis. So it seems like Zidane definitely had the best RNG as far as crits go. He also was tied for the most casts, and he got his last aim shot off versus I did not. His pet damage, 3.9k on this fight. I had 3.1k. Jeff had 3.4k. So both of them being orcs, they should get more pet damage. Me being as a troll and popping berserking, the goal there would be that I would get at least 1 more auto shot off due to berserking to offset that pet damage, and I didn't, which means that I probably didn't play this fight correctly. I had a quick shots proc. Neither of them did. We can look and see when that quick shots came. It came and was up for the full quick shot duration. But I think at this point I was playing catch up. When you look at my page, damage done, my auto shot didn't hit until 3 seconds into the fight. Zidane's hit 2 seconds into the fight. Jeff's hit didn't hit till 4 seconds into the fight. So the reason why Jeff was behind in DPS was because he started late and he didn't get a 4th aim shot off. I was slightly better than Jeff, mostly I think because I popped all my CDs, which allowed me to get a few more auto shots off. But unfortunately that last aim didn't make it. Zidane was the most efficient with his time, and had decent crit percentage. So that's what happened with that one. Firemaw is an interesting fight just due to the mechanics. Activity or DPS while active on this fight is a very interesting thing to look at. With a lot of guilds where the DPS don't stay in the whole time, this number is going to be wildly all over the place. With our guild, the reason why you see a lot of people in the 80s is because we wait till the boss is in position and then we stay in the whole time. So Daedrin, our main tank, he was 92% active because he was engaged with the boss the whole time, but that pull time was about 7.5% of the fight. So even if you look at that 7.5%, if you add like 7.5% to mine, that means that I still wasn't active from the time that Daedrin actually started engaging Firemaw, versus Jeff, who was 91%. Jeff pretty much started attacking Firemaw right away. So Jeff was very active. If you jump into the individuals here, so this is Zidane, 18 auto, 5 aimed, 4 multi. Jeff had 15 auto, 4 aimed, 4 multi. I had 15 auto, 3 aimed, 4 multi. So it seems like Zidane got a quick shots off. So that probably played into how he was able to have more auto shots. His first auto shot landed about 6 seconds in. Even though Jeff had a really good activity level, it looks like it's his pet that got him that activity level. Because his pet started attacking the boss 2 seconds in, but his first auto was until 7. I started with an aim shot. I think it was just me trying to get more aim shots in. This is another one where I casted 4 aim shots. The last aim shot did not or the last aim shot missed. That's interesting. That must be because I had, in my fire resist gear, I must have been missing a hit, so then I didn't miss any. So that's actually a big red flag for me to go and check my fire resist gear, because I was pretty sure that I was hit capped, because that's massive. Missing an average, so my average hit was 1.7k, so that's arguably 1.7k damage that I missed from that one miss, which is going to be way more than whatever I gained from not having that hit percentage. I popped Berserking on this fight because I had it up. Jeff popped his Devil Sore Eye, and he got a quick shots. Zidane got a quick shots. Big takeaway, both of them do auto shots to start off. I typically go for aim shots. If we are engaging the boss already in combat, then I should be doing auto shots first. If we are engaging the boss out of combat, or if we are engaging the boss and there's lead time from when the tank actually gets to the boss, then it makes sense to start with an aim shot, if that sort of makes sense. So with Broodlord, we might be in combat due to whelps and stuff, but you would still potentially, or could potentially, try to queue up an aim shot as the tank is running in. I wouldn't advise that on Broodlord, just because Broodlord is already a fight where threat is an issue. Probably want to go for an auto shot opener on Broodlord. This is Firemaw though, so a lot of this is probably me being worried about generating too much threat as our tank is trying to position the mob, but an auto shot's not going to pull, so I should be opening with an auto shot. We'll kind of jump ahead here. Ebon Rock is a pretty normal fight. Chromaggus. So this fight's interesting because you have to trank on it, and then you also have to move in and out for breaths. So you're going to see a lot of variability here with the number of casts. So on Chromaggus, I had 26 autos, 8 aims, 7 multis. Zidane had 28, 8, and 8. And Jeff had 25, 8, and 7. So Zidane had 2 more autos than me and 1 more multi, even though I popped all my CDs. He also popped rapid fire and got a quick shots. I just want to see quickly. He got 1 quick shots off for the full duration. I also got a quick shots for the full duration near the end. Okay. So yeah, he got 2 more auto shots off than me. His pet probably did more damage. His pet did 4.5, mine did 3.7, so his pet did 800 more damage than me. I think my only saving grace on this was my crit percentage. 46 on auto, 37 on aimed, 50 on multi, which, yeah, that kind of trounced him. 35, 12, 42. His aim shot crit percentage was very lacking, and that's why I was able to beat him. Jeff didn't have a single multi-shot crit, which is really sad. His pet did 5.5k damage though, so his pet just absolutely wrecked our pets. Which in the grand scheme of things isn't a ton of difference in DPS, but every little bit counts. So whatever he was doing with his pet was very efficient, very good. He just got unlucky with crits, and he had a few less auto shots. So Dan also got unlucky with crits. I got lucky with crits. I probably need to be skirting the line of LOS better, so that I only have to take very small steps in and out to hopefully get a few more auto shots in. Because I think you can kind of look at this and see, I think it's probably right around here and right around here are our 2 breaths. Here and here. Like, look at this, is a very small gap of time. So Zidane was really good about getting back in with this breath, versus Jeff, kind of a bigger gap. I definitely had a bigger gap. And then over here, not too bad for me. Probably better than Zidane there. Looks like Jeff had kind of a wide gap. So Chromaggus, interesting one, because you do have to get out for the breaths, and we have to trank, so you kind of have to work your rotation around the trank shot and the breaths. Nefarian, so the last boss in BWL. I'll just look at Zidane and I. Well, here, I'll pull up Jeff's too, but Jeff was a ways behind. We can look at activity again. Both Zidane and I over 95% active. As a player, he was 85, his pet was 95. As a player, I was 92. So you'll kind of see like my player damage, which is the green, is higher than his, but his pet damage, he had 12.3k pet damage versus my 8.3k. So that was a massive difference. But again, that's something, because he's an orc, he's gonna have higher pet damage, and that's where I need to make it up with berserking. So just looking at this, he had rapid fire up, and he got at least one quick shots. So he had 39, 11, and 10. I didn't have rapid fire up, which is a pretty big deal. So I just had berserking and quick shots and Devil Sore Eye. So 37, 11, 10 versus his 39, 11, and 10. And then Jeff, 34, 10, and 8. So something happened in here with Jeff. This is what it looks like. Crit percentages, his auto is pretty standard, around 33%. His aimed was poor. His sapper actually crit pretty well, and he got super unlucky with multi-shot crits, it looks like. My crit percentage, my auto shot was a little bit lower, my aim shot was higher, my sapper was a little bit lower, my multi-shot was right about where it should have been. Jeff actually had decent crit percentages, so he just didn't have the shots, the activity. Let's look at buffs. So did he have? So he had 2 quick shots proc in here, as well as having rapid fire. So that's probably a big reason why he ended up with more auto shots. I also had 2 quick shots proc, but berserking is a much worse buff than rapid fire. So we can also, and I haven't done this, I haven't looked at this yet, and I'll use Jeff's to do this just to kind of illustrate this. Debuffs. So we have 2 hunters running 8 of 8. We had 3 exposed weaknesses proc. Or no, we had 4 exposed weaknesses proc on this fight. And it was up for 22% of the time. That's pretty huge. That doesn't play into why any one hunter did better or worse than the other one. It just helps our overall DPS. So the reason why we only got beat by 1 caster is probably those exposed weaknesses. So that's just a little bit something else you can look at. If you're looking for when you are looking at a specific fight, you want to look at enemies here. Normally it's on friendlies. Friendlies, damage done. You click enemies and you look at debuffs, and it has their debuffs and how long they were active during the fight, and actually shows you again when they became active and inactive throughout the fight. So that's that one. I do want to go back to Zidane and I and just look at this. So his DPS from auto shots 284, minus 251. So he got me there. Mine from aimed was 159. So I got him there. His sapper charge added 114 damage to his DPS. It only added 110 to mine. My multi-shot was 103. His was 79. So that's a big difference there. That's why I think I was close to him. But like his pet DPS on that fight was almost 100. Mine was 67. So his pet ended up doing more damage than his multi-shot. So when people talk about like the usefulness of hunter pets, his pet did 12.3k damage on this fight out of his total of 88k. Like, having that pet in there is night and day difference. Oh, this is something I just learned too. You can look at, so you can click this exposed weakness and you can see what spells were cast during exposed weakness, their average hit. So he had, when exposed weakness was up, his crit hit for almost 3k. His crit auto shots were hitting for 1500. If you look at mine, My crit autos were hitting for about 1500. My crit multis were hitting for 1.8. I didn't have any aim shots crit when exposed weakness was up, unfortunately. That's an interesting little thing that you can look at. If you click it once, it shows you all your spells cast while that debuff was applied. If you click it twice, it shows you all the times when it was not applied. If you click it a third time, it just goes back to the normal fight. Same thing, this is Hunter's Mark, so he must have got the Hunter's Mark cast off. So that's BWL. My big takeaways from this were for Razor Gore, I popped CDs too early. I need to be auto-shotting to start on fights where we basically start in combat with the boss. So Razor Gore, Vael, probably Broodlord, probably Firemaw. I can queue up aim shots on Ebon Rock and Flame Gore. I probably need to auto first on Chromaggus and Nef. I think my cooldown usage was fine. I strategically used them based on which fights I had worse parses on, and I assume that's what the other two are doing as well. That was BWL. We can hop into MC here. This is the MC. So again, looking at activity, Zidane 88.5, I was 89, Jeff was 90. So Jeff was actually the most active, even though he was lowest DPS. Another thing you can see right away is that I, as a player, did more DPS, but Zidane's pet, again, edging me out. And I think a big takeaway that I have from this is that I need to pop more self-damage dealing consumes to make sure that Berserking gets a little bit more oomph in it. I need to be popping Demonic Runes and Sappers when appropriate to get extra speed increase from Berserking. Because like in all of MC, I was 2.6k damage behind Zidane. So if every fight that I popped Berserking on, I got one more auto shot off, that might be the difference there. So, but we can jump straight into this. Lucifron, Zidane very much at the top, Jeff second, me third. I know what's going to happen here is Zidane popped Rapid Fire. Jeff did not pop Rapid Fire. I did not pop, but he got a quick shots off. I did not pop any cooldowns. I did not get a quick shots. So Zidane got quick shots and a Rapid Fire. He went 9, 3, and 5. Jeff got a quick shots. He went 7, 7, 2, 2. Sorry, 9, 3, 2, 7, 2, 2, 6, 2, 2. So that's largely just due to me not having any attack speed buffs on me at all. My crit percentage on this fight, 0 on auto shots, 0 on aim shots, 2 of my 3 multi-shot hits crit. Whereas Zidane didn't have any of his 5 multi-shot hits crit, but he had 4 of his 5 autos, 1 of his 3 aims. Jeff had 100% of his aims crit, and then 28%, 33%. So there's a big reason I was way behind was my puny crit percentage on this fight, and the fact that I didn't pop any of my cooldowns. And that's also a reason why when we look at Magmadar, I am up here and they are down here. Even though our activities are about the same, 94, 95, 94, it's largely due to the fact, I think, that I popped all my CDs 15, 4, 4. Except then Jeff had 15, 4, and 4 as well. Zidane had 9, 3, 3. So, Jeff also popped his rapid fire here. So Jeff had crazy crits on Lucy. That's why he was up. He then popped all of his CDs on Mag. So that's why he was able to contend with me on casts. Again, if I'm popping Berserking, I should theoretically be getting more auto shots off than him, if only 1. My crit percentage is really good on this. Very lucky with 40, 25, 75. Jeffs were really bad again, or Jeffs were really bad. 0 of his auto shots crit. of his 15. That's insanely poor RNG. Zidane had pretty good crit percentage except for his auto shots. His pet did 3.8. Jeff's pet did 3.8. My pet did 3. Largely, it's due to me getting good crit RNG on this fight. It looks like we didn't get any exposed weaknesses here. Oh, and it looks like Zidane popped a Mongoose in the middle of the fight. That's probably why he probably ate an auto shot cast, or he got feared. One of the two. Then go to Gehennis. Gehennis is a weird one because he doesn't always get tanked in a good spot. My activity 93, Zidane's 72, Jeff's 93. So it looks like Zidane might have had to reposition during this fight, which happens a lot with Gehennis. Sorry, going back to this one. As a player, as 88.5, my pet was 78.9. Zidane was pretty bad. Jeff was actually 91 and 87. So Jeff was very active in this fight. 822 for me. Zidane was 622. Jeff was 622. Zidane popped rapid fire, which seems very unfortunate because it seems like he had to reposition. I popped berserking and got a quick shots, so that's why I had more casts than both of them. Crits. Jeff getting really unlucky, having none of his 5 multi-shot hits crit, a third of his autos, a third of his aims. Zidane had 3 of his multi-shot hits crit, no autos crit, no aims crit. I had pretty good RNG with multi, decent auto. 1 of my 3 aim shots. It says 2 casts, 3 hits. Interesting. I don't know why it's registering. Oh, it probably didn't register the first cast. So I pre-casted during the poll, and I probably got it off before we entered combat. So that's pretty big. The next fight is Gar. Gar was an interesting one because I went into it with a strategy of I'm going to position myself to sapper the ads near the end of the fight. That also hurt my auto shots or my multi shots a bunch. So I was 11-4-2. Zidane was 10-4-3, but 7 hits versus my 4 hits. And Jeff was 11-4-3 with 5 hits. So what I lost from multi-shot, so my multi-shot DPS was only 103 versus Zidane's 186, but Zidane did not pop any extra utility items. So the sapper charge was 3.6k, an extra 107 DPS in the fight, which more than makes up what I was lacking with multi-shot. His pet though, man, Zidane's pet did 4.6k damage and amounted to 137 DPS on this fight. My pet did 2.7, Jeff's did 1.9. So Zidane's pet did incredible work on this fight for him. He also popped rapid fire. I got a quick shots proc. Jeff popped rapid fire. The big thing on this fight was utilizing the Goblin Sapper Charge. If I hadn't done that, I would have tossed a Dynamite. But yeah, so that one came down to using the extra engineering consumables, which is going to be a big thing with a lot of fights that have ads, even looking at the rest of these logs. Baron Geddon, pretty normal fight. Shazra, pretty normal fight. Sulf, this is another one where there's ads. So activity, Zidane was way up there. Zidane and Jeff both, but I think there's a big difference here in that Zidane on this fight, I remember, popped a Sapper Charge versus my Dynamite. Zidane was 14, 5, and 4 with a sapper charge. I was 18, 5, and 4 with a dynamite. And a big reason that I was 18 was that I popped rapid fire and berserking and got a quick shots. He popped rapid fire, but he was still 4 auto shots behind me. So that's probably in big part due to him having to run in and sapper, versus I was able to stay at range and toss a dynamite. And his sapper only hit 2 of the 5 potential targets, and that's why it only did 100 more damage than my dynamite. So my dynamite only hit 3 of the targets, and had a hit. He hit 2 targets, and it crit, but it was a resisted crit on 1. So overall, I think that dynamite, I mean, my dynamite ended up being more useful because it allowed me to stay at range and continue auto-shotting and continue my rotation. If he had hit all 5 targets with it and not lost any casts, then it would have come out ahead by probably enough to make this, to have him, well, I guess he ended up beating me on DPS anyway, but he would have beaten me by even more. Big thing again, 3.4k from his pet, 1.7 from mine. So, but again, we're very close. My player DPS, or my player damage, 28.3k. His was 27.5. That's the difference between troll and orc. You're fighting pet damage with your use of berserking. That's basically all the other interesting fights. Major Domo was another one where we popped different consumes. Zidane popped a sapper and I popped a dynamite. Mine loaded. Okay, so Zidane, 7, 3, 2. I was 9, 3, 3. His sapper did 4.5k damage and hit 8 targets. My dynamite did 2.8k and hit 8 targets. So his sapper ended up doing almost 2,000 more damage than my dynamite, and that's probably why, that's a big reason why he ended up beating me there. Again, his pet did 2.8k. My pet died on this fight, so that's why it only did 1.4. My pet doesn't die, then I probably beat him on this fight, but him using that sapper, while it probably did cost him on his rotation, like I got off 1 more multi and 2 more autos, and we had basically the same. We both popped rapid fire. He got our quick shots. I popped rapid fire and got a berserking. The reason I got more shots off was because he had to run in and sapper, which paid off for him. That's basically it for these most recent raids. I did skip over some fights, but Ragnaros is a pretty conventional fight. Same with Golmag, pretty conventional fights. The big things that I think anyone that's a hunter or anyone that's looking to analyze logs can take away from this is look at your active percentage, work on that, try to be more active, look at spell casts compared to other people in your same, that are playing your same class, and just see how you're stacking up to them. I know for a lot of classes there's an optimal rotation in terms of what spells to prioritize. So with Hunter, it's very auto shot based. So that's why I look at auto shots as being kind of a key indicator of whether or not you're performing your rotation correctly. With Warriors, I think it's Bloodthirst. You want to look at Bloodthirst and make sure that you're hitting Bloodthirst whenever they are off CD. And then just looking and understanding how cooldowns play an effect and how using different strategies on each boss plays an effect. So running into Sapper versus staying at range to Dynamite, how that affects your rotation and the number of other casts that you get off. Looking at for Hunter's pet damage and the role that that plays, and understanding that if Orc Hunter is using a pet, their pet should out DPS a Troll Hunter's, but a Troll should get more damage using Berserking throughout the raid. If you're Alliance, those kind of go out the window, and it's ignoring the differences with berserking and pet damage, and more so looking just directly at how active you were as a player, how active was your pet, and analyzing and just getting into the thick of proper rotation, proper active levels on this. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions about analyzing hunters specifically, but even in general, just looking at Warcraft logs for your guild and trying to figure stuff out, definitely feel free to message me. I'll put some ways of getting in touch with me down below. You can tweet at me, you can leave a comment on this video, you can see if I'm streaming, and come and stop by and ask me a question, and I will gladly chat your ear off about this stuff because I love talking about it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and keep learning, keep getting better, keep having fun.